is on. Okay. So, good morning, my panelists,
Good
and
morning.
Good
thank you
morning.
for giving the time. And this is uh, such a big pleasure for us that you have taken some time from your busy schedule and given us time to speak on some of the topic which is very close to my heart. And let me tell something about BizStep. Actually, we started BizStep with a vision that we want to teach people the technology of artificial intelligence, and while doing so, we also introduced them to the concept of using this application in the development of the society or the planet or the mankind. This was a vision that we started our organization, and I'll introduce my panelists first. We have Dr. Pramod Solanki. She is an HR professional with 33 years, more than 33 years of experience across industry sectors. He had worked with business schools like IIM Ahmedabad, Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies, and his career has spanned over some of the big multinationals like TCS, L&T, and Sun Pharma. And he's also owning his consulting firm called as Performance Enablers, and it covers services across the HR spectrum. And he's a panelist and speaker in the thought leadership. So we welcome you, Dr. Pramod Solanki. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
let me introduce Neeta Ganguly, Miss Neeta Ganguly. She's an educator, humanist, motivator, attitude changer, author, climate leader, mentor, and national coordinator for Waste to Wealth for TCRP India. She is also the winner of several national and state awards, Fulbright Scholar 2009 and TEDx Speaker 2017. She has also authored two illustrated children's storybooks, which are Polytrap and Hello Earth, Here We Come. I'm going to look at these of the books as well. And 2008, she was certified as a climate reality leader by the Nobel laureate and the former US Vice President Al Gore and the Climate Reality Project. And she believes that people cannot be forced to adopt certain attitudes unless they embrace a sense of responsibility and accountability to protect the environment. Very good thoughts, Ms. Neeta. I welcome you to our discussion. And I'll go to uh, uh, Anup Majumdar. He's the director of Triton Commerce, a prolific leader with more than 21 years of experience across operations, consulting, engineering and project management, organization transformation, industrial automation, and manufacturing execution system. And he has worked both nationally, internationally. He has traveled across globe, and he has set up very big teams with a lot of engineers. And he has a lot of sense about the production as well as how responsibly we can have the consumption production of in the industry environment. I welcome you, Sanu. Thanks for
Thanks,
joining in.
Gaurav.
And then we have Ms. Preeti, and she's co-founder, director of Sare Jahan Se Acha Foundation, and she's undertaking a lot of social projects. And looking at the projects, I think that she is doing with her heart and soul. This all the projects. So she has having the Spit Free India campaign, and uh, she wants to carry this message to clean India through children. I think educating the children, she also believes, is the best way to transform the society as well. And she has another project, Indies. This is a project containing connecting stray dogs to the volunteers. And then for the senior citizen safety, she is also having a project called as My Water Loop, and which she says one of the projects she says very close to her heart is Har Mahina Har Mahila, a awareness program for women's menstrual health and hygiene. I welcome you, Ms. Preeti, to this discussion. And to start talking about, I invite Ms. Neeta to start on a topic she wants to discuss on the vicious cycle of climate change, which is also one of the points of our 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So, Neeta, I would make you a host, or maybe uh, Anup, if you can make Neeta a host, I think we can start with.
Okay. It's all yours now, Neeta.
Okay, thank you. Am I there? Let me see.
No, no, not
Yeah,
yet.
Neeta,
Okay, there you go.
Neeta, now you do one thing. You make Preeti and Preeti can make Dr. Solanki. You know, it's a
Okay.
chain.
Okay.
I go to
So,
participant and do it, right?
yeah, you
That's
go to
correct.
Participant and then?
More, and then from more, you can make host.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So nothing is possible if we don't work as a team, you know. So this is
Yeah, this is an ideal. Now I made Preeti, you're the host. Preeti, can I make?
Yes, he's coming up. It's coming up.
Okay.
And how do I make someone the host?
So you go to your participant, then you go to promote Solanki's name. There's a more button, click on that, and then on top is host. Make him the host.
Okay.
It's a chain reaction. And my topic is on chain reaction.
yeah. So the vicious cycle, right? So
Vicious cycle.
Virtuous cycle.
This is not vicious.
It's a virtuous cycle. Finally, all of us are hopefully going to be there.
Preeti, you have to switch on your camera.
Yeah, I am trying to. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped.
Okay, I think Dr. Solanki, can you please make Preeti the host again after you have turned on your video? Because I think that is how it is working.
No, so okay. So my
Please turn on your video.
no, I try. Okay, there
There
it
we
is.
are. Yes.
Okay.
we can
Now I go to more. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
on Preeti.
Go to
Participants.
participants.
One second there.
Gaurav, I see the red dot has moved over to you. I wonder. No, no. Please go ahead, Dr.
I'm
Solanki.
just starting.
Sorry.
soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
So when I click on more, I don't get the.
No, you have gone to participants, doctor.
Start with participants.
Yes, no, but when I click on participants,
See my
I only
Preeti.
get
You click on Preeti.
invite op. Okay, okay, now I get that. Okay, make host. Yes, I get that. Yes,
Okay, so
your camera is on, Preeti.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
Hello
there we
there.
come.
I can
Nice.
see everyone.
good to see all of you.
Nice,
Good to see you
nice
on the
to-
same frame. Yeah, good.
Nice.
Nice.
Why can't we have Ritu also then? No.
I know. I think she'll be there in the next one. She'll be there in the next. You know.
Okay. All right. Sure. So go ahead.
Okay. So you want me to share the screen?
Yes, please go ahead, Ms. Neeta. It's your platform.
Okay.
Please convey your thoughts. Yeah.
Can you all see?
Yes, we can.
All right. Great. All right. So yes, I've called it climate change, a vicious cycle of warming. So we did have a chain reaction. So, but this was a positive chain reaction. This helped each other. So let's see what happens over here. So thank you, Gaurav, for having me here, and thank you for the lovely introduction. Let me just reduce this so I get the whole screen. You can all see it. Can you hear me?
Right. Yes, we
Yes,
can.
of course.
So look at this picture. Isn't this odd to have a hand pump in the middle of a sea beach? Isn't it odd? Right? So this picture was taken from a village called Kanhapur, Odisha. Now, if you look, point towards where the hand pump ends, you can see a little tiny structure over there. That's the village mandir. So what happens normally, a mandir or a worship place is always kept in a higher pedestal, isn't it? Higher place. So the village used to be here. What you're seeing, the hand pump is because the village used to be here. And because of the sea rise and because of the tidal waves and because of the soil erosion, they had to shift, they had to move. Originally, this place they were known as the Seven Brothers. There were 7 villages over here. And but now only 2 villages are remaining. That is Satyabahaya and Kanapur. So this is Kanapur. So these people, 30 years back or even before, they used to be into paddy cultivation. They had coconut palms. They had their schools and houses, which is all got submerged, all got submerged. And most of them had to change their profession from, agriculture to fisheries because they have to survive. And as you can see, because of so much of soil erosion has taken place, it's eaten away their village. So people have either relocated themselves or they have migrated. This used to be a hotspot for tourism. It's all gone. It's all gone. So the reasons were two over here, that is rising sea levels and changing of the wind patterns. And because of this tidal waves and soil erosion, the whole topography of these villages are totally changed. And of course, there is a cause and effect for this. And we know that when there is sea level rises only when there is more addition of water. And we know that the water, about 2.1% of the water is stored in the form of a frozen glacier. If that starts melting, they're like equivalent to oceans, stored up. And if that starts melting, that causes the sea level rise. So if you look at all the glaciers in the world, they're actually everywhere, all right? Even in the equatorial region also, you'll have glaciers and all. It all depends on the altitude. But the largest is, yes, the Antarctica, and the next is the Arctic region. So to understand the difference between an Arctic and an Antarctic, besides one being in the North Pole and the other in the Southern Pole, Arctic is actually, if you take a glass, an empty glass, and you fill it up with water, and you put some ice cubes in it, so floating ice is Arctic. So Arctic is basically, you have this floating ice surrounded by land. Whereas Antarctica is, if you take an empty glass, you first stack it up with ice right from the base and then add the water. That is Antarctica. So Antarctica is land surrounded by these huge, gigantic glaciers, these ice cubes and all thing. So if I take Antarctica, and I'll just take a small portion of this Antarctica, and I'll take another little portion known as the Larsen Ice Shelf B. And these, if you look at these Larsen Ice Shelf, from the sea level up, if you go, they go up to about 721 feet. And now you all know about this thing about, people say it's just a tip of the iceberg. So it's basically 90 to more than 90% of that ice is below the sea. So you can imagine how humongous these ice blocks are. And scientists said that it will take about 100 years to, for them to melt, because they're solid ice, absolutely solid ice. So this was a picture taken in 2002, January 31st, just after a few days, another few days, and another week. And by 6 weeks, 3,250 kilometers of 720 feet thickness, what we see from sea level up, they all disintegrated. In fact, this is a history. Larsen A is a smaller Larsen which had already disappeared in 1995. People really didn't pay a hoot on it. Larsen B, it is said that by the end of 2020, this year, this whole Larsen B will collapse and disappear. Larsen C, which is the largest of all the Larsens, there A, B, C, D. So C, which is the largest, have already started showing signs of breaking away. So this is something which is really happening around us. Now, this is an unnamed glacier in Greenland, which is in the Arctic region and all. And this picture was taken somewhere in summer 1935, and this was taken in 2013. They're all melting away. In fact, the declining of these ice masses are very, very rapid. Not only in the Arctic, but in the Antarctic region also, the ice loss is very rapid. So you can imagine, it's a 14.2 million kilometers of land. We don't know when it's going to disappear. Already the rate at which it is disappearing is about 6 times faster than what it happened in 1990. So to understand the science behind it, we all know that black subsurfaces absorb and a white reflects, right? So this is what it happens in the Arctic and the Antarctic, in all the regions where there are these ice glaciers. 15% of the sun rays which are falling on it gets absorbed, that is, the heat gets absorbed, and 85% gets reflected because it's a white surface, it's a solid surface, it's a very good reflector. Whereas if you look at the water, which is a liquid, which is a darker compared to that of the ice, 93% gets actually absorbed. 7% of the heat only gets reflected. And what is happening in the Arctic and the Antarctic region? We are actually losing this white surface at an alarming rate. So you can imagine the sea level or the water level, that surface area is increasing. So when that surface area increases, more heat gets absorbed. Even if there is a hairline crack in the huge ice blocks which we have, if that warm water enters that hairline crack, it's just going to crack it and break it open more. And that is what is happening. 40% of the ice we have already lost. So to understand another science behind it, if you talk about the planets, I'll just take the first 4 planets. We know that the planet Earth, its average temperature, if you say, is 15 degrees Celsius. And it is warm planet. This is not a cold planet. And one of the reasons the credit goes to carbon dioxide, because we have carbon dioxide and we know the physical property of carbon dioxide, that it absorbs heat. Therefore, Earth is a warm planet. So if I take the 4th planet, we know Earth is a 3rd planet. If we take the 4th planet, we know that is Mars. Because the Mars is away from the sun, hence the average temperature is minus 55 degrees Celsius. It makes sense, isn't it? Now, which is the 2nd planet, which is closest to the sun? It is Venus. Again, as logic says, closer to the sun, therefore the temperature is higher than that of Earth and Mars, and that is 457 degrees Celsius. And the closest is Mercury. Mercury, being the closest, does not have the highest temperature. What is the reason, in spite of being the closest? Well, look at the ring. The ring, the blue ring which you see over there, represents the atmosphere of each of these planets. The blue color represents the carbon dioxide. So we know that Venus has lots of carbon dioxide, and because of this maximum carbon dioxide, so more heat gets absorbed compared to Mercury, where its atmosphere has negligible amount of carbon dioxide. Therefore, most of the heat gets reflected and not absorbed. So yes, carbon dioxide is one of the root cause of greenhouse gases, which is causing this global warming. The atmosphere around the Earth, if you see, it's a very thin and it's a very vulnerable atmosphere. So to understand how thin and how vulnerable it is, if I take a football and I put a nail varnish over it, whatever is the thickness of that football and that thin nail varnish I've put in, whatever is that proportion, is the same proportion of our Earth and the atmosphere. And what are we doing to it? We are spewing with 152 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into the thin shell of our atmosphere every day, 24 hours. And this, we are treating it like an open sewer. In fact, James Hansen, in a TED Talk in 2013, had said that so much of global warming we are exploding into, it's like equivalent to 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs we are bombarding into our atmosphere every day for 365 days per year. So this was said in 2013, but now when the scientists found out that the equivalent has now come up to 500,000. So isn't it very shocking that 50 years back, we celebrated the 50 year of Earth Day this year. 50 years back, people started talking about this celebrated Earth Day. 50 years henceforth, the knowledge has expanded. We all know about global warming. We all know about climate change, but the global warming heat has not reduced. So what maybe our attitude and maybe our way we are reaching out to the student is not right. We need to re-look into this, that why is it that we are not able to make any difference in spite of talking about it. And yes, the biggest source is the greenhouse gases, and we are the contributor. If you look at this picture, we are the contributor. The natural sinks which we have is the land. We have concretized it all over. The natural sink is the water, which is the largest carbon sink. It is already getting warmer, and definitely a forest. That's the natural sink, which is the only green photosynthetic component which absorbs heat. It does not give out carbon dioxide, it just absorbs. And we are destroying it at an alarming rate. And this is what we need to look in. So if you look at the global temperature from, the anomaly from 1880 to 2019, It remained in the negative integers for quite some time. It's only after 1940, maybe the repercussion of our industrial revolution, that it started moving more and more towards positive. And there is a 72% chance that 2020 will be the hottest year ever. Every year we are seeing the next year becomes hotter than the previous one. Miami, where the temperature never rose above 30 degrees Celsius, showed 40 degrees Celsius. This is what the changes we're having, 10-degree differences. With extra heat that evaporates more water and more ocean in from the ocean, bigger becomes the downpour. And not only that, not only the ocean, it sucks out that moisture from the land too. And therefore we are facing deeper and longer droughts. How could we forget what happened last year in Chennai? 0-day was declared. And what about in 2016? Remember, we had to send a train to Latur just to give them drinking water. This is something which is happening. It's not diminishing. It's just becoming bigger and bigger. Europe this year faced an alarming water shortage of groundwater. In fact, Poland and Romania have faced drought after centuries. Czechoslovakia, basically the Czech Republic, they have faced it after 500 years. Europe, it's something which is unthinkable, but they are facing droughts. This is a reality. So with more and more temperature rising, the fire incidents are also increasing, and they become spontaneous combustion because of lack of rainfall. There is dry wind and high temperature, as I've already said. How can we forget about Australia? In fact, over 1 year, it burned, and we lost 500 million of animals. This year, if you see, California is still burning. It is still burning. And how can we not look at South America? Now, if you look at South America, there are a lot of contradictions about this. And because of pandemic, we are not getting most of the data. But this was given in October 2020 that we have surpassed the 2019 Amazon fire in 2020. And this is something which is really disturbing, because you see, most fires, if you look at this, the natural cause is lightning, we know that, and spontaneous fire can also be caused, and it gets triggered because of heat, because of lack of rain and dry wind. But more than 84 fires which are happening around the world is because by us. We are responsible for the diminishing biodiversity. Last year, as I said, Australia has lost 3 billions, either killed or displaced. This year, if we talk about the Amazon fire, if we not talk about the entire, but I'm just talking about 7.7 total of the total area which is burning, 2.3 million animals and biodiversity is lost. So why are they burning it? Isn't forest profitable? I guess not. I believe the timber is not that profitable as getting into agricultural practices. And burning is a cheaper alternative than cutting the wood. That is really sad. Most of the land are going into livestock rearing. And of course, everyone wants to live in a very posh and infrastructure and call themselves a modern world. And infrastructure is also taking the toll. But 91% of the Amazon is burning for livestock. It's poultry, it's cattle, it's sheep, goat, pigs, and agricultural. If you see the global greenhouse gases, 51% of all the greenhouse gases is caused by animal husbandry. But this is a profitable business than having a timber, than having a fire. And therefore, as this session gets over, we would have lost about 4,000 football size of field. Every hour it is disappearing, and that is not something which I'm making it up. Along with them goes our biodiversity, because this little creature is not profitable to me, so we don't mind getting away with them. So by the end of this century, 50% of our land-based species will disappear. So if you see that all that heat we are generating, as I said, the ocean, the water are the largest carbon sink, and 93% of the heat is actually getting trapped and absorbed by our oceans. And what is happening? The anomaly, if you see, of the ocean temperature, what happened in 1940 to now, again the integers has moved towards more and more positive, and by 2020 is likely to set up a new record again. Earlier, the water temperature never rose above 0 degrees Celsius, but the changes started happening in the end of 1990, around 1998. And the reason I will just tell you in a minute. A temperature increases, what happens? Again, the water evaporates, as I told you earlier. More water, more heat, more evaporation. And with more evaporation, we are now facing something known as cloudburst. Right? So Rim Jim Barse Pani, all that song, we have to do away with it because it does not hold true in today's world. We only see very quickly and very suddenly there is a term extremely common nowadays, and it is increased 4 times more than what it used to happen in 1980s. If you remember the curve, it started moving up around 1980s. Assam faces the blunt every year. Every year it faces. Millions of people lose their house, their livelihood. So what happens? When the ocean heats up, the water temperature rises. With the water temperature, the wind velocity rises, and with that, a lot of moisture gets picked up. And this causes a hurricane intensity to grow. To start a simple hurricane, we just need 26.5 degrees Celsius temperature above 50 meters of the depth. That's all. And if you look at the oceans, that is the Indian Ocean, the temperature of the Indian Ocean actually fluctuates between 22 to 27 degrees Celsius. So we are more and more closer towards the hurricane. So if you see 1990s to 1950s, there was no data of hurricanes. From 60s to 80s, in 3 decades, 8 strongest storms happened. And from 1990 onwards, every year we speak about strong storms, and we talk about super cyclones, extremely severe cyclones. And how can we forget what happened this year? We had Amphan in the category of 5. It created havoc from Bangladesh to Orissa, and the landfall was in West Bengal. And just 15 days after Amphan, we had Nisarga in the Arabian Ocean. So this is what is happening. Even last year, we faced 2 cyclonic storms. This year, again, we faced 2 cyclonic storms. And if you look at the super cyclone, after 21 years, 1999, Orissa had faced this blunt of a super cyclone. Again, 2020, it faced with Amphan. And remember, I spoke to you and I started the slide with Kanapur. Let me tell you about the brother, the Satyabaha. And this is a picture of Satyabaha, which is in Orissa. Remember, out of the 7 brothers, only 2 brothers are remaining. And this is the second brother. So Kanapur, if you remember the hand pump, you could see the about 2 meters or less or more, which was above the ground level. But Satyabaha has faced the severest coastal erosion in the state. You can imagine a hand pump. That's why I'm showing you that picture over there, that it's not only the 2, it's about 6 meters of the whole hand pump is exposed. You can imagine how much of soil erosion has taken place. You can just imagine how much of soil erosion has taken place. This beautiful village which existed over there, which had paddy fields, which had coconut growth, has left with nothing. There are only few hand pumps which are left, which are their source of fresh water, drinking water. Most of the about 11 hand pumps have been drowned and submerged in the sea. This is the state the coastal regions are facing, and we need to think about it. So climate change would likely lead to food shortage, water shortage, pandemic disease. We are already facing pandemic disease, disputes over refugees and resources, and destruction of natural disaster in regions across the globe. This was stated by the US Department of Defense, and this is a fact. I personally feel the only thing which is going to stop climate change are the trees, because trees are the only living creatures or the natural creatures which is a fantastic carbon sink. There's nobody else which can do what wonders trees can. And with the carbon sink, it also gives us the oxygen which we need to breathe. So this is the cleanest and the greenest and the best way to tackle climate change, is to save whatever trees we have and plant trees wherever space we get. If necessary, we need to go vertical too, because our land is occupied more with concrete jungle than the actual jungle. So if necessary, we need to go vertical too. So we need to be responsible in not only reducing our footprint, but also to reduce our handprints. That means take the responsible and the appropriate action now to save this planet from climate change. Remember, this is the only home we all share. We have to move out of these four walls, which we call us our home. We keep it clean, we keep it beautiful, but we throw all the muck outside in this common home. We need to rethink as to how we treat our planet Earth. And what is right in front of you is Sare Jahan Se Acha. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Ms. Nita. That's a great presentation. And I think that students who are going to see this presentation, in fact, even I was not aware a lot of things, because we are too much busy in our schedules, in the work schedule, and we do understand what is happening, but we don't pay that much attention to the small little things that are happening in different parts of the world. And this is a great insight. And this is what we are doing. We are asking students to be, when they're learning technology, when they're studying in their schools, they must think, if they're using technology, how they can use it for the betterment of the planet itself. Because end of the day, we are all similar. We are connected to each other, whether they are trees or water. And thank you so much for a beautiful presentation, I would say. Thank you, Ms. Nita.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I now invite Dr. Pramod Solanki. He wants to speak on the topic of education. I think, being an HR person, he knows that a lot of employees need to be educated from time to time. And so the platform is yours, Dr. Pramod.
Thank you, Gaurav and Ritu, for having me over. And a very good morning to dear students from the schools and ladies and gentlemen. Gaurav mentioned education, but actually the conversation is around leadership, because it was that was a part of the discussion, because ultimately education should produce leaders.
Leadership, right.
That's where the test of education lies. So in this short conversation on leadership, what I want to do is to begin with a question. If someone was to ask me that, what is the most important thing we need as a country, as a society at large? I do not know about yours, but my prompt answer will be that we need effective leadership. And why do I say that? Because if we, for a moment, keep the focus in our own country, India, think about the time from independence and look at areas that have received what I would call effective leadership and see the results there. So science and technology, with the benefit of likes of Vikram Sarabhai, Dhawan, Satish Dhawan, and more recently, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and of course, I'm sure there are others. We are rubbing shoulders with the best in the world, simply because we had men who could inspire generations and who could show the path to match the best in the world. Look at institutions of eminence. It was a vision of Pandit Nehru that we should have IITs and IIMs at global standards. But then they were farsighted enough to spot people who could provide the right kind of leadership. Mr. Ravi Mathai of IIM Ahmedabad, many others like him. It is more than 50 years now, almost 50 years. And these institutions still rub shoulders with the best institutions in the world. It was soon after independence that Sardar Patel spotted a gentleman called Verghese Kurian somewhere in Kerala, and took him to sleepy towns of Gujarat. And what you have in India is what is called white revolution. It is, I don't know how many decades, Neeta will, her database would possibly know that we have been the largest producer of milk in the world for some decades now. And it's the same country, same constraints, same resources, same politics, same interest groups, everything is same. But because there was an exemplary leadership, the results are there for all of us to see. In the same country, same politics, same interest group, same constraints, same resources. And you have someone like Mr. Sridharan, who at the age of 64, when people hang their boots, took charge of Delhi Metro and changed the shape of city transportation in Delhi. At the age of 79, when he was to retire from Delhi Metro, the government said, no, please don't retire. At the age of 79, he was invited to do this Kozhikode, Thiruvananthapuram rail, then monorail, then Southwest Railway, the fast track. The man is, last year he was 81. 2019, Jammu and Kashmir government wanted to do their tracks and metros. And they said, no, we can't think of anybody better than Mr. Sridhar at the age of 81. So if you have people of impeccable leadership, they can make things happen under any circumstances. So therefore, for me, if we talk of what is it that we need most, in my mind, I'm very clear. What we need most is more effective leadership, people at the helm of affairs. So, but I believe in India, we need more leaders and more leadership. I named a few, and I'm sure there are many more whom I have not named and I may not even know. I was actually quite impressed with this Karmveer series of this popular quiz show, Kaun Banega Crorepati. In that, they bring some absolutely unknown names from some far-flung corners of the country doing simply wonderful work. Just because they are fired up with a passion and they have managed to galvanize the people around them. Tremendous contribution to the society. Now, so we need more people. Why I say we need more people with leadership? Because we still see, so many facets of our, if we stay focused in our own country, the primary education, nutrition, the health sector, they're crying for improvement. If only we had right leadership in these sectors as well, things could have been very different. Why can't we have a white revolution kind of situation in education if we had another V.G. Kurian leading education sector, and so on. So therefore, we know for a country of our size, diversity, and complexity, we need people at various levels who symbolize inspiration, who galvanize people into action in spite of all odds and produce results. And therefore, I say we need more leaders and we need more leadership. Where will these people come from? And since we have a large number of students here and of course other people, I want to suggest that each one of us, that's my belief based on what I have seen, each one of us actually has an inherent element of leadership. There is an inherent spirit in each one of us to do something, to contribute, to make an impact. Each one of us have felt the happiest when we were able to do something worthwhile. Yes or no? We feel so happy that, yeah, look, I did it. Now, so that inherent spirit is there. Just that some express it little more, in a little more profound manner, some are more subtle, and some have challenges in expressing it. I strongly believe that there is a need to tap into that spirit. There is a need to have more people give expression, take charge, do things, and do something worthwhile for themselves and for the people around. If we think for a while, particularly since large number of young students are there, who is this person called a leader? I mean, are we saying that before Mr. Sridharan took charge of the Konkan Railway or the Delhi Metro or any of these other organizations, there were different people working there? No, they were the same people. He worked with the same people. The farmers of Gujarat who created history, the Amul revolution is a stuff of history books. They were the same. But the gentleman who changed is Verghese Kurian. So who is this? What is this? And who is this? That whose presence seems to make so much of difference. That suddenly the same lot of people start conducting themselves so differently. They bring out a completely different level of their game. And if you look at the very basics, I'm sure scholars have different views on who this person is and what is this leadership. But if you look at a very basic level, there is something about this person whose presence has an enabling message to the people around, whose presence has a reassuring message to the people around. He has a knack to be able to listen and connect with people around in a far more impactful way than many of us do. He's able to co-create a vision with the people whom he's trying to lead in a manner that very inherently connects them, inspires them, and galvanizes them. That's what seems to make a difference on the ground. If we leave aside academic conceptualizations for the moment and look at what actually transpires on the ground when a leader is at work. So if we look at that, what I want to say to our dear students here and to the people who are listening, that we can have more leaders and we can have more leadership. And there are opportunities in our day-to-day life to nurture this spirit, nurture this mindset, and nurture this capability. So a head boy or a head girl of a school or a class in some way is able to carry large number of people along because they listen to him, they connect with him, they believe that he is taking us on the right course. And therefore he is he's being a leader in his own small way. If we stay with the schools, a teacher comes in the class, he engages you so beautifully that you want to participate, you want to contribute, you learn more, and you contribute more. There's another teacher whose class you want to bunk. He is bringing some element of leadership to be able to engage you and galvanize you in a manner that you very effectively participate and start contributing in the whole process. In a work life, there are managers and bosses people don't want to go to share what they are struggling with. But there are colleagues, they are very happy to go to and, share that what I'm going through. I think such a colleague is demonstrating an element of leadership. And maybe somebody who is a manager whom people even don't want to go and speak about it, he has lost the game as far as leadership is concerned. A colleague is able to listen, connect, empathize, and possibly listening by itself is a help and maybe help as well. So in our day-to-day life, there are opportunities which are in our own, in its own small way, can keep nurturing our ability to lead, ability to galvanize people into action, ability to inspire. And I think each one of us can nurture, polish, and develop this capability if we are mindful of this masterclass called life. Daily life is a masterclass of leadership if we really make use of every moment and the way we go about our life. More specifically, since students are there, and if I were to speak about things in general, anyone who is keen to nurture this ability to lead, ability to galvanize, I think the step one is to be the best version of yourself. Because if you are actually, being the best version of yourself, you are living life as a best version of yourself, you will very naturally inspire people around to be the best version of themselves. We only have to look at the daily schedule of Mr. Sridharan to realize the kind of life that he lives. And the moment people know what is his way of living every day, that itself is a message to the rest of them. So being the best version of yourself is the starting point if we want to impact this business of inspiring others to be their best version. These leaders have done the outstanding work because their presence inspired others to be the best version of themselves. Otherwise, people were the same. And in this journey to be the best version of themselves, I think there are a couple of steps that help. Are you clear what is your purpose and passion? I was deeply impressed listening to Miss Neeta. It was not just an information or education, it came from her heart. It came with a passion, something that she very strongly believes in. People who listen can't ignore her. The people say that what comes from the heart goes straight to the heart. And therefore, are you clear if you want to nourish your leadership? Are you clear what is your calling? What is it that fires you up, that makes you passionate? If not, please spend time while we learn by observing the teacher and the head boy and the colleague that I spoke about earlier. But it is also true that leadership journey of every individual is unique. There's no another individual who is like you. You can learn by observing the people I spoke about and others, but the moment you try to be like any one of them, you have lost the game of leadership, because there is no other individual who is like you. And your talents will really be deployed fully only when you give expression to your talents. And therefore, try and get this clarity. What gives you joy? What makes you passionate to something that you want to pursue? Once you have a clarity around it, there'll be many people maybe wanting to pursue the same thing. But then it may sound like a little bit of a class, but I just can't get out of my mind that there are a large number of students. So I request a fellow panelist and more grown-up ones to please bear with me. Once you have this clarity that this is where I want to get, it is always possible to also look at what do I do very well to get there, and where I need to nurture and polish them myself. If you reflect honestly, you can very easily pick up one or two things that you do reasonably well. Find a way of leveraging them more. Leadership is a journey. It's never a destination. So if you're good at something, look around for opportunities in your life. In the master class called Life, where can I leverage them more? And your vulnerabilities, things that give butterflies, things in the stomach, things that make you jittery, things that where you feel shaky. I think there is so much available to work, to read, to practice, to observe people who are very good at it, and finally take a plunge. So if you feel nervous about public speaking, after all the practice, observation, reading, find an opportunity, go and speak, make a mess, if so be it. You know, when they want to train a cricketer really seriously, they want him to play a Ranji at this trophy and that trophy. They don't limit it to only the net practice, because net practice at the end of the day is a net practice. So jump into it, do it. When you come out of it, reflect, you will know that yes, I can still do a few things better. So teacher, mentors, etc., etc. Anything that you're trying to develop, there is an inner game and there is an outer game. If you struggle with something that you're trying to cultivate, reflect deeply, there'll be certain chattering monkey in the head, which is giving you some noise, which is making you feel a little shaky. Find a way of dealing with it, yourself and through friends. And there is an outer game. That is when you actually execute the kind of impact that it makes on other people. Seek feedback there. That's the way to improve the outer game. And when you address the inner game and the outer game, slowly you will find that, yes, you are actually getting better in whatever you are trying to get better at. Finally, reflect. And as you have improved on things that you wanted to improve, pat yourself, celebrate yourself, pat yourself on the back. But then begin again. Because what is your best today, does not remain the best tomorrow. And therefore, don't settle until you get to the best that you can be. And if you wish to be a leader, this ability to listen deeply, ability to connect deeply, ability to inspire, ability to co-create a vision and galvanize people around it are some of the capabilities that would hold you in good stead in any sphere of life. So that's where I want to leave, saying that don't settle for anything but your best. All the very best to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pramod. I think this will resonate very well with the school students, because I had few conversations with a lot of students, and we are promoting that they can take the 17 GS, the 17 goals to transform our world, and then they can upload some videos and some of the students told me, we are very scared to actually speak. And I tell them this is a journey of learning, because it happens in schools. Sometimes people develop low self-esteem, and they cannot become the better version as you spoke about. So we also at our organization level, we also try that you come up with whatever. It can be a little bit, you can make yourself better, but you come up with out of the box thinking, you be responsible, take whatever innovative ideas you have, you think about it, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter. For us, every student is special student. And so I think this will resonate very well with the students, and every
Thank you.
student would think what you said. Every student would think, because they know they are not the best of themselves and they would like to become the best of themselves. Thank you so much again, Dr. Pramod.
Pleasure. Sure.
Now I invite Ms. Neeta. Oh, sorry, Ms. Preeti. Please, your topic is a very, very sensitive topic as well, and it also resonates with the health of the Sustainable Development Goals that we have. You please take your platform and you can come up with your what you want to speak about.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. It's wonderful to be here. And I heard and I'm prepped up with what Neeta has just enlightened us. So she's charged me up. And thank you, Dr. Pramod. I think you're right. Each child is unique. So we need to show them the direction. We need to nurture them. No one is small, no one is big, no one is better than the other. Each one is the best version. So just let's help them. So hello to everyone. I am Preeti from Sare Jahan Se Acha Foundation. And as Gaurav mentioned, we do have several projects. But what I have come here today to speak is for the children. So I will pick up the topic of puberty and menstrual health. So I will just lightly touch upon puberty in boys and girls and mainly talk about menstrual health and why the girls and women need to be aware today that which is the choice of the hygiene product they should use, and why and what are we doing to the world by filling around so much of sanitary waste around us. So I'll share my screen, the PPT that I have kept ready, and let's move from there. So you can see it.
Yeah, you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start with that. And when we are going on, let me share some data with everyone. Why this topic is so important. This is data which is available on open source. So we are actually shelling around 1 million pads monthly. I'm giving you only data for India. So sanitary pads that are being thrown and strewed around are around 1 million on a monthly basis. So we are looking at a whopping 12 billion pads, which are produced, which are thrown, which are disposed in India. And as the consumption increases, so does the waste. So we are just going to look at numbers to grow higher and higher. So just lightly to tell you what is puberty, boys and girls. Puberty in a child is when your body begins to develop, to blossom, and you are going to change into a wonderful and beautiful adult. And of course, for boys, it will be a different age bracket. For girls, it will be different. For boys, you will see this happen around the age of 10 to 16. And what are the telltale signs? The boys will see that their penis and their testicles begin to grow larger in size. They suddenly see body hair, underarms, or in their private parts, they appear. They tend to sweat a little more. And something which we don't like, there could be an acne breakout. The voice then turns into beautiful, deeper voice, the boys which they look out for. And there is a sudden spurt in height as well. For girls, it's a little sooner than this. So girls will see this around the age of 8 to 13. Their breasts would grow a little larger. And our main topic for today, what will happen is they begin to menstruate. Their periods begin. In our language, which we say, the periods begin. Even the girls tend to sweat more. There could be an acne breakout. And along with height, the girls could have a weight gain too. So some data to share. Though all women menstruate, only 12% women can afford sanitary napkin in India. As a result, there is 88% of women who are using unhygienic materials. They could be using something as easily available as newspapers. There are women known to use sand, leaves, mud, unsterilized old pieces of clothes and rags. And due to this, there are around 1 in 5 Indian girls who drop out of school during menstruation because they feel it is a hindrance, or the indifferent attitude which they see around them for menstruation brings them to leave school. So these girls, they have stopped their education only because they have begun to menstruate. And because we are not taking care of the hygiene during menstruation, we have also seen deaths because of the infection that the reproductive tract has caused, and that has led to deaths and serious ailments. To touch upon the topic for those who are between the age of 10 and on in our audience, the students who will join, I will give you a brief idea of what is menstruation. I know we all have a fear of blood, and that's why I think the indifference around us, the ignorance that we want to feign, saying that we don't want to talk about it, but we should talk about it. And not only the girls, the boys should talk about it. Not only the boys, the dads should talk about it. The fathers of today should know about this, so that, because women are working, your daughter could be having her first menstrual cycle when mother is not around. So why the dads should not know? Let's not hush it or blow it under the carpet. Let us talk about it openly. So menstruation is when blood and the tissue from the uterus secretes out from the vagina. Yes, it happens every month. And the first period usually begins for the girls between the age of 8 onwards. It could be delayed, it could be earlier for some, but they should be alerted from age 8 onwards, because it can begin from around age of 11. So the layer of soft tissue in the blood, which is not needed, is shed out from the vagina. With it flows out the egg, which is not sterilized. Since the cycle has begun, so each unsterilized egg will flow out along with the tissue and the blood through the vagina. And it is not a cause of fear. It should be taken as a normal and very regular phenomena for girls, for the boys. So you should maintain your calendar. The girls can have this cycle as short as 21 days or as long as 35 days. And as I mentioned, it could be from the ages of 12 to 14, and it can be as early as the age of 8 and can be as late as the age of 16. So mothers, teachers, please alert the girls and tell them they should carry a sanitary hygiene product, whichever suits them best, in their bags all the time. And it is normal for girls to feel a slight abdominal pain, any kind of a contraction, stiffness of the limbs, pain in the lower back. The symptoms could be any. And this is all because of the squeeze that we feel when the fluid is flowing out. Very importantly, wherever you stay, whichever part of India you are in, you have local fruits, local vegetables. I think you should divide your plate into 2 equal halves. One half should definitely have your fruits and vegetables in totality. And the next half should be your grains and your proteins. And what you see, your junk food, particularly in urban children, that should be minimized. I'm not saying don't eat it. Be exposed to everything, but be smart, be knowledgeable, and be selective. Select wisely what you are eating. And if you don't see your periods having started on time between the age bracket that I have mentioned, do visit your doctor. Don't shy. Do visit and get feedback on what could be the problem with you. So how long do the periods last? They could last you for between 3 to 5 days, or can be as long as 10 days. But you must be alerted that if it is going beyond 10 days, that there is something something is amiss and you need to visit a doctor. And many girls want to know, am I going to be bleeding all my life? Do I have to stop activities while I'm having my periods? So no, you don't stop any activity. You don't need to fret. You don't need to stress. I personally played basketball throughout my school days. right up to when I started work. So periods never stopped me from playing, and neither are the wonderful sportswomen that we have around are feeling periods or menstruation as a hindrance. So go on with your regular life. If you are going to keep it as a mental block, people around you will consider it as a mental block. So no, you are not going to be bleeding all your life. Midlife is when it is going to stop, and it could be late 40s to early 50s when you reach a phase called menopause, and that's when your periods are going to stop. I come to this wonderful topic of menstrual hygiene. That's where our health is also important, and if we are not going to follow it, we are compromising on health of others as well. Keep your vaginal area very clean. Look for your signs of redness or swelling or itching or any kind of pain. Because if you are going to neglect this, it could lead to a long-term infection and complications. Definitely talk to your mother. Be vocal about it. Do not hide it, and talk to her. Visit a doctor and get yourself treated if the infection is going to be leading to any kind of such discomfort as I have mentioned. Choose your product wisely. The markets are flooded with our sanitary pads, but remember, all the sanitary pads have plastic in them. Please read the labels behind your packs. Not only the top layer, the inside layer, the bottom layer, everywhere there is plastic. So please choose biodegradable and cotton-based product or plant-based products. You have them ample in the market. Do select reusable cloth pads. They are made with pure cotton fabrics, easily available in the market. And if you are creative, you can make one of your own. And for those who are older girls, the menstrual cups are a fantastic innovation. They are silicone based, and they are skin friendly, they are biodegradable, it's an inert material, and even the life is longer. It could last you for easy 8 to 10 years. So try using menstrual cups because they are less load on the environment and reduce the garbage manyfold. So my children, students, menstruation is not a curse. Don't be shy, don't be ashamed. It's not impure. Neither is it a disease nor a sin and not a secret. Don't talk hush hush about it. It's a power. It's woman's power to create, to nurture, to transform. And that is why this mankind actually exists. How should you dispose what you are using? You are well educated, you are being trained well by your parents, by your teachers. So use that education well. Select that product wisely, as I mentioned to you. You have ample choice available today. And the best thing is to segregate your waste at source, while at home, while at school, while in college. Make sure there are separate bins provided to you. And you wrap your sanitary pad in a newspaper or a waste paper and put a red dot. I've illustrated it here. Wrap it, put your red dot, and place it in a separate dry bin, which is meant specifically for sanitary waste. And why should you do that? Because we have many Swachh workers who are working in landfills only to segregate this waste. And can you imagine the kind of health hazard they face because they have to touch that waste day in, day out, breathe it day in and day out. So that little red dot, that separate pack in a separate bin is going to help them a lot. And for those who are in offices, in schools, in institutions, we do have incinerators, which is a fantastic mode of disposing your sanitary pad. What is an incinerator? Let me give you a briefing. It is not just simple kind of burning. It's burning in a very controlled environment under controlled temperatures. So the box that you see, which I have shown, if you drop your sanitary pad into it, it burns at a specific temperature and it does not allow the fumes to emit outside. It does not bother the environment and the people around. So institutions, schools, homes, larger societies can have this, and it will be a boon to have it and avoid increasing our waste in in so many levels. So this brings me to the end of the presentation, and I would like to end by saying the 9,000 tons of waste that we are creating can be brought to an end by choosing wisely, by not creating this waste. And what we are creating, as Neeta had mentioned, the carbon footprint or the handprint, this is a sanitary footprint that we are creating. And for lives to come, they will face the consequences if we don't sharpen ourselves, awaken ourselves today. Have a wonderful day, girls and boys. It was wonderful talking. And thank you, Gaurav, once again.
Thank you, Ms. Preeti. And one of the, I was looking at the Envision 2030. It also talks about integration of reproductive health into national strategies and programs. So this is a very good insight, and I think the students must be able to openly talk about it. And even, you talked about incinerator, and they should be able to come up with the innovations that we have as a global AI scholar, so how we can dispose of some of the innovative mindset. And I would leave it to the girls even coming up and creating some of the innovative.
Yes, we do have many youngsters who are working on that project, and I'm seeing they are bringing in technology. So we are waiting to see what the markets are going to show. That's the right side, but we must be wise. Let's choose wisely.
Great. Thank you so much. And I think we had a good conversation. And my last panelist, and I've kept him waiting. And I'll go to Mr. Anup to talk about responsible consumption and production. I think this is his technology line that he follows. Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Anup. Yeah. You have to wait for a long time.
Hello, everybody. No. It was a very nice session. Thank you, all the panelists. And again, thank you, Gaurav, for having me on this one. Because, while I was listening to the panelists speaking, when Neeta spoke about, climate change and I have a young daughter. I mean, she's 8 years old, and, we see a lot of things which are coming on TV around global warming. I was able to see, and also when I kind of go back into my past, I'm from Pune myself. I remember going to school, Gaurav, wearing a sweater. But now, maybe 40 years down the road, I don't see a need for a sweater from happening in Pune at all. I mean, it's something that I have seen in my own lifetime, something which I can tangibly experience. Although I have had, the good fortune to kind of travel around the world, see a lot of things, also experience global catastrophes happening in other countries. Like I was in South Africa 3 years ago. That's when they were having this major water shortage. I had a perfect 4-minute window for the shower working. That's how they had it in the hotel. And the thing was that the first day when I was there, it just ran for 4 minutes and it was quite cold. And by the time the warm water really reached me, oops, shower time is over. So these are a lot of changes which, fortunately, I have experienced to bring these unfortunate situations back to my friends and colleagues that, why we are blessed with what we have and how we can kind of make this world a better place.
Mr. Majumdar, I hate to interject.
Yes,
I want to request Preeti to help me with the video once again. I have lost it so that I could be there in the conversation. You please continue.
Same with me, Anup. You have to, share, switch on my video. We are
all right.
So that I can be in the conversation.
Dr. Solanki, you are the host right now, so you can switch on your own video. And after you switched it on, I think you need to pass it over. Yes, there we go. And we pass the buck now to Neeta.
Let me make host. Yes. Yes, there you are.
Brilliant. And thank you for this again, because I'm going to start off with my session around responsible consumption and production. um, with a short question to my panelists. I mean, I hope that I hear the right answer, because it's a paradox that we will hear about. But then again, coming back to what I heard from Dr. Solanki, it was about leadership. It was about making choices. It is being a leader in yourself. You cannot be better than yourself, compete against yourself, rather than seeing something, bring the best out in you. That was a very powerful message. When I heard from Preeti, it was a very informative session. I think for me, as I said, that I have a daughter around the same age group as what Preeti mentioned was, the main changes happening in the body. I mean, it kind of also opened my eyes that maybe I should be also more well versed and prepared for the situation when my wife is not at home, and I could be able to help my daughter better. Another product which Preeti specifically mentioned around menstrual hygiene was the biodegradable type of the products which are available in the market, not in plenty. And this is where I talk about production, because I'm an industry consultant. I haven't had an opportunity to work with pharmaceuticals. I've had an opportunity to lead industry um, projects from the aspect of food and beverages. Incidentally, I have had also the good fortune to kind of work with a company which is treated as one of the number one companies when it comes to sustainability and life cycle for the whole sustainability and forest stewardship council and stuff like that. But today, what I try and do is that I link uh, ideas that I bring to my customers, to people who are trying to set up factories, to what we have heard from the other panelists today, and try and get some thoughts going on how do we use artificial intelligence to drive some of these changes which has been listed as the main focus areas up to 2030, if we are to make a positive change to the way that we are living, and if we should as human beings be able to continue living on what we call as home earth. If you're not able to do that, yeah, I mean, we don't have any other home, at least not that I know of. Star Trek is a different story. So, having said that, I'd like to start with what I said. Ask a question to my panelists. If you were at a supermarket to buy a bottle of sauce, as you see, that many of them come in glass bottles, many of them come in plastic bottles, what would be the type of packaged product that you would pick and why? Would anybody want to kind of give me a response to that?
Right. So I will respond.
Yeah,
I have
Preeti.
a bottle at home, so I
Yeah.
pick a refill pack and I go and fill it back into the bottle at home.
Okay, so it's the glass bottle because you reuse it.
Yes, I reuse the glass bottle, and the refill pack is probably cost effective.
Yes,
I bring it
also.
home and I fill my glass bottle again.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because this is where, and then any comments from you, Dr. Dr. Solanki?
So it's some time that I bought a sauce bottle myself.
All right.
But I would do what Miss Preeti said. Yes.
All right. All right.
Buy a refillable kind of thing. Yes.
All right, Anita, what about you?
Though plastic has been, given a very bad impression, plastic, it depends upon how we use it and how we recycle it.
Yes.
So now there are technologies which are not really known to people, but it's available. You have TCD, you have thermocatalytic depolymerizers, you
Absolutely.
have polycrack, where you can, plastic is a petroleum product, you can get back your petrol again. So
Correct.
it's 100% recyclable if it goes to the right place and not reaches your landfill.
That's absolutely right. Now, this is where, I present the paradox. Now, while everybody is trying to do something which is going to be environment positive, as Neeta said, that, plastic has been given a very bad name. It is scouring the earth. It cannot be degenerated for the next 600 years. It is going to be available in a landfill. Many of us, we go in for glass bottles. for reasons which both Preeti and Dr. Solanki said, you can reuse them and stuff like that. But the paradox which are present over here is that glass is indestructible. Plastic has a 600-year life, but as Preeti mentioned, that there is a lot of technology available when which it can be recycled. So the paradox is that, while everybody, we have three more panelists over here. Gaurav, you can just listen in this particular case, but this is what I'm saying is that, our lives are getting so difficult when we are even making some of these simple choices. uh, it is, that is where we kind of come in with new technologies. We talk about artificial intelligence. Some of us say that artificial intelligence is going to be will be taking over everything that we do. But the fact remains that artificial intelligence, it can only and only augment and maybe increase the speed, uh, the experience of what we do today as a manual process. Yeah. And we can never, or artificial intelligence will by far never replace any of our human traits which we have among us. Having said that, I would also, bring to the students some more kind of thoughts and some more paradoxes which it kind of creates. Um, we talked about leadership. Dr. Solanki talked about leadership, right? Leadership in which, say, we make a planet positive choice, for example. Uh, we make a choice in which we say that we will now go ahead and buy only green products. Things which are green would be that they are maybe, processed in through a fair trade route in which the farmers get the right price. It would be processed in plants which use the least amount of energy. It should be packaged uh, in containers and packages which are biodegradable or reusable, right? And what is the environment impact about it? Now, how much of this knowledge can we all keep in our minds? And this is where a lot of technology comes in. Imagine a situation. I mean, most of us today all have got smartphones. We kind of have a lot of apps, a lot of fun things we do on our apps, Facebook, Twitter. We are probably even doing Zoom calls on the fly using smartphones. But what about the situation in the very near future? This is what I kind of see over happening in the industry. Uh, you see a lot of QR codes coming with certain packages. Those QR codes are packing a lot of information about a certain product. Now, that is one ecosystem that most people have. Uh, the exposure that you go to a supermarket shelf, you scan something, you know everything about the product, voila, you think you're making the right choice. But bring it one level up. Define a profile for yourself. What kind of an environmentalist or a environment friendly person do you want to be? Yeah. I will link this back again, guys, to why I'm bringing this up. You want to be having a profile which is the least carbon, which has the least carbon footprint. That means you need to try and buy more products which are packed locally. You want to kind of buy more and more products which are kind of farmed locally, for example. Uh, yes, whether it's going to be at your local banya or whether you're going to go to a supermarket, yes, that's a different story. But when you're kind of looking at an organized sector, probably I'll take an example of a supermarket. So once you have made a profile for yourself that, I hope to have so many calories, I want to avoid, sugar-based drinks. Well, the government is helping these days in a lot of countries by applying sugar taxes and stuff like that. So a lot of, natural things are coming more and more as a matter of force to the market. A lot of choices which people have made. This is where, again, the thing around, a leadership of choice comes in. Uh, Consumers are no longer going in for products like when I was a child, I used to love this mango drink, which had a very nice, come in a nice green carton. But, as I have grown, what I kind of give to my child is something which is, which is a full pulp, because the drink which I used to have was only flavor and water. But it was nice in that time because, it was a new product. We didn't think too much about it, but times are different now. So again, coming back to the example of, how we can kind of link responsible consumption, yeah, and how technology can help us. Think about this situation. You have a profile for yourself. You are stepping into one of your favorite supermarkets. The supermarket by itself then tells you, all right, Anu, welcome to blah, blah, blah supermarket. Looks like this is your shopping list. As per the carbon footprint that you want to maintain and be of use to Mother Earth, you should go to shelf number 23 and look at products X, Y, and Z. They would be the best ones to kind of match your carbon footprint. And this is where the paradox comes in. You go to the shelf, most of the organic products, most of the local grown produce are more one. Second one is that when a person or say when a company is placing a product on a supermarket shelf, on the racks of the shelves, you will find different brands. I'm not sure if a lot of people know that there is a cost associated in the supermarket to the shelf on which a product is placed. A product of a different brand is probably placed in the most non-discrete place in the supermarket on the bottommost floor, because because they don't want to give that much of a revenue to the supermarket for keeping it. The most expensive shelves are always at eye level. The most expensive shelves for keeping a product on on a supermarket with, say, child products, something like jams and jellies, something like sweets, they are on the lower shelves because that is where children can see it. So this is where the paradoxes come in, because one of them is the cost of the product, and the second one is that will there be a supermarket who would actually work in favor of this nice app of artificial intelligence that we have built, which should actually guide you to find the right product. We have to solve these as we go ahead into 2030. Right now, this is a consumer behavior. Consumer behaviors drive production technologies. Production technologies, because finally that is what a company produces is basically a function of what the demand is. You can do a lot of very nice marketing. Ask yourselves, when we were in our schools, the number of ads we used to see for colas. Yeah, even up to the latest past, maybe up to 8 or 10 years ago, there was also maybe a lot of nice film stars doing ads on the top end colas of the country. When was the last cola ad have you seen on TV lately? Not much. Because there is a paradigm shift to say what these colas bring. I mean, what is the value of having this cola? I think people have realized that. And there is no more value of marketing that product than what this product is. Most of these cola giants, by virtue of my work experience, what I know, they are moving into alternative areas of work. No more colas. They are more looking at flavored milk. They are more looking at white milk as alternatives. So this is what I'm saying. A leadership of choice that you made is reflected back into a production scenario. And this is where I now give you an example on the industry side. How can an industry, when they are packing a product, when they are putting in a QR code on a product, how do you know it is the most efficient plant that they have used? A lot of investment goes in. I mean, for me as a consultant, I spend a lot of time doing regenerative technologies. I mean, you have one plant in which you're doing a desalination plant. But how is the desalination plant running? The desalination plant works on the exhaust gas of a boiler. The boiler you were using to generate power and as well as for steam for aseptic reasons in the plant. The exhaust from your desalination plant, that once again goes in as a as a as a chilling system. I mean, not a lot of people know, but heat can be used for chilling purposes. So that exhaust is taken into the plant. When you put all these things together, probably a plant which is producing a type of a mango drink is the the most efficient one when it comes to a carbon footprint vis-a-vis a brand B, which is also producing something but not using all these technologies. But this is where again the paradox is that probably the produce from plant A may be slightly more expensive than plant B. Do we take that conscious efforts to buy the product of plant A? Maybe not. Maybe not today. One of the reasons is that we still think that, the mango juice coming from plant A and plant B is mango juice after all. But if we really believe in making a change, how we as a responsible consumer can drive responsible production, probably we would be using more tools to actually understand the product that we are buying. This knowledge out there, as we say, there is too much of knowledge out there, but not knowing what to pick up and what to use. I think that is where we have artificial intelligence to help us along. And again, I stress specifically, help us along. Artificial intelligence cannot drive us. We should avoid trying to, get into that particular loop. There are a lot of ethical issues when it comes with artificial intelligence coming into everything. These need to be solved and will be solved over a period of time. There will be legislation on what is possible, what is not. Some of the latest situations that we have is, how data is being mined by Google and Facebook, for example. I mean, there's too much of information on that. I'm not going to be able to spend time on that. But this is what I had to kind of say today. I mean, you as a responsible consumer actually drives a responsible production environment, and then everybody work together to create a long-lasting home for us, use the resources that we have more effectively. And as I said, again, I would close by saying that artificial can only augment. It cannot drive us. So very interesting field, lot of things to be done in this area. But again, to only help us, not to override us.
Thank you, Anup. It was a
Thanks very
very,
much.
very interesting and a very simple way that you explained the responsible production, because you gave some of the ideas. I hope that and I hope that one of the students get that idea of a responsible person with a footprint and a shopping market. That I don't know if they take a patent out of it. I think they should also give credit to you if they do that.
Well, Volvo never took a patent for the seat belt, but yeah, we all are using seat belts.
Seatbelts. Right. Yeah. So I think it's a good knowledgeable session for students, because
Yeah.
we are actually, let us also admit that we have been irresponsible when we deal with our society, or we deal with the planet. We have been irresponsible, but it was a need of the hour that time, and we went forward for it. And now we need to share our experiences with the young generation, because end of the day, they have to live their lives, and they would like to live in a planet which is good for their health, good for their mental, good for their physical health as well. And they should be able to feel, united with the complete universe, complete planet as a whole. So we planned it as 11 to 12:30, and I'm very thankful to all the panelists. They have stuck. It's 12:42. I think we have exceeded the time limit, but from the complete team of WISDEP, I thank you all the panelists for taking out so much time And this definitely would help the students, and we owe you a lot of thanks so that you communicated your experiences to us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks from the WISTEP team, and I hope that Global AI Scholar reaches to the student with the knowledge that you are providing us. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye. Nice meeting of
Nice
all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye. All the very best to
I will
Nita on
keep
her
you. I'll
journey.
keep you all in
Yeah.
the loop. I'll keep you all in the loop so that you have your email IDs, and if you
Yes.
wish to communicate with each other, and
That will
you
be-
know, because like-minded people always like to keep in touch. And
Sure. That'll be nice. Please do that. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Bye.
Gaurav, since there are students over there, there's no questions. There's no
No,
questions.
this is not a question answer session. Actually, we have a lot of students. We have not put them on the webinar because we have a limited capacity to admit, and then the parents would come into the picture and say we are not able to get admissions inside. But we are going to share it, and we're going to ask them questions about it.
All right.
We're putting it on Facebook. I hope the recording goes well here.
I didn't see. I didn't see
Do it again
recording.
for you.
I didn't see recording sign stop for a moment, so that's nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Enjoy-
Thank you.
enjoy
Bye-bye,
your-
everybody.
Have a
Stay
good
safe. Bye bye. Thank you. Nice meeting all of you. Bye bye.